Targeting in front lines with default settings can be incredibly frustrating, and it's obviously important to be sure your abilities are hitting who you want them to hit. This series is designed to help you target who you want quickly and accurately. We'll talk about changing keybind settings to make tab targeting more effective, making clicking much less of a migraine, and using targeting macros effectively for when you don't need a specific target at all. The single most common question I get in PvP is how do I target effectively, and I've dedicated my first video series to answering it. These 3 topics let me target what I want, when I want, and it'll help you do the same. With that, let's get started. Targeting topic number 1, making tab targeting more reliable. For starters, the default tab targeting setting is laughably bad throughout the entire game, let alone PvP. So our first and most pressing matter is to set it to something better. Set your tab targeting keybind to target nearest enemy by going to System, Keybind, and Targeting, scrolling down just a couple of ticks to find Target Nearest Enemy, setting your tab keybind to it, then clicking apply. For me, this is the option with the most predictable and helpful targeting, as I'm generally able to tell what the nearest target to me is. If tab picks a target in front of me, I'm likely going to be able to at least use ranged abilities on it to build job gauge. If tab picks a target to the side or behind me, then most likely that tells me the third team is pushing into mine and I likely need to reposition to not get caught out. But sometimes I'm diving into a team to aggressively AoE them and the closest target happens to be behind me. That's where my second targeting keybind comes in. I have a mouse button set to control, which I commonly use as a modifier just like many players do with shift. I use that mouse button plus tab to cycle through enemies nearest to farthest. If you go back to the keybinds interface, it's the first option in the targeting tab. In order for this to work correctly though, it's absolutely vital that you go to System, Character Configuration, Control Settings, Target, and change the target type, target closest enemies option to cone. Ignore depth as that default setting I hated on at the start of the video, and it selects targets from the left to the right of your screen, while cone tries to select a target near the middle of your screen. Using cone ensures that the target will be in front of me, and more often than not selects the closest person in front of me exactly like I want. The only time this really fails is when the target is out of line of sight. If this happens, hit tab to target the nearest person again, then use your secondary keybind once you're in line of sight of your intended target. If 2 new keybinds is overwhelming, that's okay. The best way I found to get practice with these with zero pressure is by running an unsynced low-level dungeon. I used Sestasha to get a real feel for what my tab targeting is going to be and what my first and second cone targets are going to be. It'll give you plenty of practice using both new binds while completely removing the risk of dying. Then, play a few rounds of front lines with tab set to target nearest enemy first, then add in the cone keybind when you're ready. Applying these keybinds was one of the most positive changes I made to my PvP gameplay, and I truly hope it helps you as well. They're the primary reason I can consistently put out stat lines like these. If this video did help you, please like it and click the subscribe button. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment here, ask me on my Twitch channel, or in the PvP Revival Discord, both of which have links in the description below. This video covered targeting using the tab key, and the next video will cover targeting using the mouse, and I hope to see you there. Until then, happy hunting.